You're listening to Inside the Locker Room with Wimp and Barry Sanderson on Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa.
And Wednesday, the sky partly to mostly sunny both days. Highs between 84 and 87. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
Inside the Locker Room with former Crimson Tide basketball coach Wimp Sanderson and his son, former SEC and ACC assistant basketball coach Barry Sanderson. It's time to take you inside the locker room on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
And good morning and welcome into a Monday edition of Inside the Locker Room. Everybody had a great weekend. Good football here for the in-state schools this week, so everything's be a little calmer this week. Alabama, obviously, with the open date this weekend. Auburn will play at home on the Plains again this weekend. We'll talk about all that throughout the show and throughout the week. 205-342-9904 is the phone number if you'd like to get in on the show. Chase, I was going to tell you, see if you can go back and hear Max's walk-up music maybe from last year to make sure we have that right this morning if we can. If we don't, it's no big deal. But we have Max Howell with us at the bottom of the hour. We'll discuss what happened over the weekend. Look forward to what's going to happen on this Saturday. A couple of pretty good games this Saturday. The X accounts at Locker Room 109 at Barry Sanderson at Wimp Sanderson 1. And the email address for the show is wimpandbarry@yahoo.com. Download that app to your smartphone, and you can take us with you anywhere you go. You also can chat with us on the app message there. We can read those over the air and go from there. Good morning, Dad. How are you this morning?
I'm doing okay, Barry. Several things very quickly in the games. Alabama with a good win over Wisconsin. Wisconsin lost their starting quarterback in the first quarter, which will hurt him a great deal. If our quarterback had gone out, we would say the same thing. So Alabama had a good win. LSU quarterback got injured, hurt his ankle. South Carolina's quarterback got hurt his ankle. I watched a lot of that game. They had a bad call in that game. Of course, I was pulling for South Carolina, and LSU won the game. South Carolina could have very easily won the game. Maybe not very easily, but could have won the game. Had a pretty good lead. Missouri a good win over Boston College. Missouri's good, and Oklahoma had a good win over Tulane. I lost on my blue plate again, which makes me probably the dumbest guy in America, taking Florida. If they want to say they quit on him, I don't know if they did or not, but A&M came in ready to play, beat them 33-20, as most of you know. Arkansas was down to UAB by a touchdown and a half and bounced back pretty good. Outside of that, that was about it. A win is a win is a win. Georgia, of course, the 1-point win, and Auburn didn't play great. I didn't think defensively or any way very well. I watched just about every game. Vanderbilt had a very disappointing loss looking at Georgia State. He was just so beat down after having a couple of wins. So it was a mixture of wins and losses for the league. We'll talk about it more in detail. But that's the way it is for right now. Patton Kazara, I texted Patton last night, and he texted me back, and hopefully we can get him on very, very soon. Won the Procore title, and that was great. It doesn't show how much he won, but it sure exempts him for a lot. He's been trying to win for 6 or 7 years after winning twice. Great win for him. Hard to play when you're ahead. And he stayed ahead, and Tom Hoagie was -12, and he won some money. I don't know how much Pat won, but I think the big thing for him was it moved him up in the rankings, gave him a chance to play in the majors, which is great. John Rahm won $18 million over the LIV tournament, which was and the ladies won the Cup, the 2000 Cup. They haven't won since Solheim Cup that they have not won since 2017. So we'll talk some of that with Doug. I won't spend a lot of time on it this morning. Central Florida beat a good TCU team. Maybe it was a big win. Texas quarterback got injured some. Manning kid came in and played well. So we'll see as we go through this thing who number one is right now. Texas has moved ahead of Georgia, if you're interested in that kind of thing. And so it's Texas, Georgia, Ohio State. This is one of the polls. Alabama is 4, Ole Miss 5, Tennessee 6, and Missouri 7, which means it's full of SEC people. As Barry mentioned, Alabama's off this week, and so there'll be a lot of talk about the Georgia game. The Dodgers beat the Braves 9-2. The Kansas City home game I got to watch yesterday kicked the field goal to win the game, which is a big win for them. Caitlin Clark is playing really great in their playoffs. She got 35 yesterday. A very, very good player. So Tiger Woods is having back surgery. I don't know to what extent, but anytime he go back in the back, it's trouble. So we'll see. I had picked South Florida game and then turned around and decided to take Florida on the blue plate. And of course, I made a bad mistake there. So I can't win for losing, and they're going to get on me pretty good today, this week. So we have another mediocre week, I think, as far as just dying to see teams. Florida and Mississippi State is not going to be anything to write home about. Vanderbilt, Missouri, probably not. Tennessee, Oklahoma probably is the best game of the week if you just want competition. The rest of it is UCLA at LSU might be decent. So Arkansas and Auburn. Auburn needs to get ready. Arkansas's got a chance to, got a good running, good passing attack. So we'll see what happens there. Outside of that, I'm sure there's some things I missed, but that's it, B.
All right, yeah. Seems like there's been a few teams that have been bad, and you keep thinking, I'm like you, I keep thinking, well, there's no way Florida State's going to be bad again. They've had a week off. They've had 2 weeks where they didn't play. Surely they're going to be ready to play, and then they come out and they just look bad again. You think Florida, well, they're just not going to continue to look bad, and they look bad. And then some of these teams, Tennessee hadn't played anybody. They've been consistently good. Texas has been consistently good. But a lot of these teams, even Alabama against South Florida, had a letdown or whatever happened. I don't know if it was a letdown. Georgia, by the hair of their chin to win. You look at teams like Kentucky, they get clobbered by South Carolina, and then they play Georgia to a 1-point game. Why do you, and I want callers to call in, why do you call us to call in and maybe tell us, do you think this is portal? Why are these teams so inconsistent from week to week? Now, Florida and Florida State have been consistently bad, but why these other teams seem to be so inconsistent? It makes it difficult when you're trying to pick games because you don't know what's coming with these teams this year.
We've got a lot of offense. Tried to have a lot of offense in all these games. I was laughing at myself. I said, I might not pick Tennessee 49 points. And, that's way too many with the weather coming in. They scored 71. So I think it's a transfer portal at times, maybe a mixture of teams that they have played. I think not knowing, we had thoughts about how good or how bad a team was, and we really didn't know them. It was just radio talk. And I think that's affected us some. Because we feel like that, well, we had no idea like the Florida State thing was going to be like that. No doubt about it.
I think somebody said their win total for the season was 9.5. You could go over under 9.5. You can already cash that ticket. They can't even get to 9.5. Starting out 0-3.
Yeah,
so anyway, we can.
Hard to play, and Florida's got major problems. So I don't.
So if you want to call us, 205-342-9904, you tell us, why are these teams so inconsistent? You have no clue what you're going to get from 1 week to the next with most of these teams. And it'll be interesting to see Tennessee travels to Oklahoma. Game day is going there. First time SEC game for Oklahoma. So I would imagine that place will be crazy. I saw the early line, and I think it's back, maybe updated. It was Tennessee favored by, it was 8. Now it's 7.5. So that will be an interesting game. That will be a 6:30 game on ABC this week. All right, we got a couple phone calls here. Let's take this break. We'll get back. We'll get to Pat. We'll get to Tom when we get back from break. 2-minute truck. We're at 1330 Martin Road East. That's where you go pick up your boxes, your packing supplies, whatever you need to make this a smooth move. Where it's local, out of town, out of state, no problem. With the professionals handle it, they'll take great care of you and your stuff. Give them a call today, 205-247-5050. That's 2 men in a truck, movers who care.
Here's what's trending on the Tuscaloosa thread.
Good Monday morning. There will be increased security at Eastwood Middle School today after a reported 13-year-old girl was arrested for allegedly making a threatening online post on Friday. TPD received numerous calls from parents concerned about those posts. The youth has been charged with making a terroristic threat. That is a felony. Those posts were a number of ones that have been received at schools across the state since the shooting in Georgia at a school outside Atlanta. Click TuscaloosaThread.com for more local news. Don Hartley, Town Square Media, Tuscaloosa.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. We are Monday morning starting out a little on the heavier side of traffic. A little busier side here in a couple of spots. We've had some patchy delays due to fender bender in a couple of spots. And now we have one on Boone Boulevard on the northbound lanes to McFarland Boulevard intersection. And so that definitely is creating slow goes. Moving along Skyland.
Your shots together too. Ask your healthcare provider about getting this season's COVID-19 shot when getting your flu shot if you're due for both, as recommended by the CDC. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Road tripping, business travel, or bringing your car in for repairs. All great reasons to rent a Toyota at Tuscaloosa Toyota. You can rent the latest Toyota models for a day, a week, or a weekend. Every Toyota rental car comes with 24 hours roadside assistance.
Within 30 miles. And if they don't have what you need, they'll get it. Cypress Supply, 2036 62nd Avenue, Tuscaloosa. Cypress-supply.com.
A national championship team covering a national championship team. The best sports talk in the state. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back to Inside the Locker Room. Yellowwood Pressure Treated Pine from Great Southern Wood. It brings you this 7 o'clock hour. Always remember, guys, if it doesn't have the yellow tag on it, you don't want it. All right, to the Yellowwood hotline, get Pat in. Good morning, Pat.
Hey, Pat. Morning, guys. Well, hey, I called to talk a little bit about basketball. It's supposed to be a basketball show. God, I love y'all.
Okay.
Coach, are we able to get any time inside of Coleman Coliseum for the guys to be where they can actually put, because they with a 13-man roster like they've got on paper, they should have enough to make 2 very competitive teams.
Well, they're going to have
iron sharpen iron. Go ahead.
They are going to have a couple of walk-ons, and that will make them be able to scrimmage against each other. I guess you're referring to where they're going to have, how much depth they're going to have on their team. Is that what you're trying to ask me?
Yeah.
Well, they've got it's like Barry and I have talked about. They're so talented this year with the recruits that they've gotten, the ones they've gotten back, and Sears is coming back, that playing time for all these kids becomes very important with not only with the kids but with their families. So it's not, even though you have great players, it's not as easy to get those people on the same page as you might think it is. Now, it's not impossible, and they probably will. They're selected to win the national championship, which is a big time selection. But they've got plenty of people to work against. They've got good talent, and their abilities to play hard all the time will be seen.
Yeah, but Coach, I would think as a coach that you'd be able, with this group, you'd be able to get 5 and 5 more that you could interchange and be able to get to where you can have really, really good practice.
Well, the problem you have is that 5 you take out, and that 5 you put in, that 5 you take out, do not feel like they play long enough. They're mad because they're getting
I'm not talking about letting them play all together. I'm talking about mix and matching them. No. You should be able to get them to where they.
You have a substitution pattern. I had an 8-man substitution pattern. They have more than that because they have a lot of players. So whatever substitution pattern Nate and his group feels like they need to make, that's what they'll do. I really don't know what that is.
Yeah, they have, to answer your question, Pat, they do have a ton of depth there. They'll have very quality practices. And I asked a guy that worked with coaches, man, how's he going to figure out how to play? He said they chart everything that these guys do when they walk in that gym. And so it eventually will work itself out that the guys will pass one another and they'll find a nice rotation there, but they have 13 legitimate players. So you're right. The practices will be something to see.
The other thing too, Pat, you have to understand is sometimes, maybe not with this team, sometimes you practice well but don't play well. And as you go through your substitution pattern in the non-conference schedule, you will have an idea by the time you get to your top schedule that you will kind of know what your substitution pattern is. The two best teams thus far will be Alabama and Arkansas in the SEC this year.
Yeah, difficult with what you're saying, Pat, and you're not wrong, but Mark Sears is so good. They have a TV timeout every 4 minutes. He's hard to take him out of the game, very much. You want to leave him in there as much as possible. So I don't know if they'll sub 5 at a time, but the coach will find the right combination for them. So.
Yeah, I'm just saying that I know this. I saw some those McDonald's All-Americans and things there that were recruited that looked awful good.
Yeah, this team is very, very talented. They got old guys and young guys, so we'll see how it all shakes out. Thank you, Pat.
Thanks, Pat.
And they got big guys.
Yes, they do.
They got big guys.
They do.
All right.
Thank you.
I just hope they put some weight on a couple of them there. Have a blessed one, guys.
Yeah, well, they have the body types that they're going to add a bunch of weight, but they'll get some strength on them. All right, listen to the back to the Yellowwood Hotline. Get Tom in. Good morning, Tom.
Hey, Tom.
Barry, Coach, good morning. How are y'all? Patton won $1 million.
What?
Patton's paycheck was $1 million.
Oh, Patton Desire? Yeah.
Good, great. I didn't know what it was, and I texted him last night.
$1,808,000.
Nice.
I texted him last night. I had to have it.
Just like you said, that it wasn't the money for Patton. Patton done made $15 to $16 million in his career, which is good. But here's what's good, and I think Barry was on it. He's exempt for 2 years.
Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, when Doug comes on, maybe you can verify this. I think he's exempt for all those, what do you call those tournaments?
Signature events.
Yeah. I think he's exempt for all those. Now, see, he gets in there, and that's money.
Yeah.
Those signatures, no cut, and it's money.
Yeah.
And I was praying that he was going to win, but more than that, I was praying for him and his family that, he was going to get that exemption on those signatures, and that would really put him over the top on money. I do believe that. But, you can ask Doug, but the way I got it figured, you know what I mean?
Yeah, we'll ask him.
Yeah. And on your question, it's the transfer portal. I don't care what nobody says. That has evened out the playing field on a lot of levels with the transfer portal. And the third thing I wanted to say is I thought White, that works at the station there, was an Alabama fan. He wrote an article about the basketball team last week, and it's time for everybody to shut up about this basketball team. And I love all of them. I love White. I love Pat. But, hey, calm down. He had Alabama playing for the SEC championship game in a scrimmage. You're talking about rat poison. These people have got to quit. We won't have a chance if they keep saying stuff like that and about how many good ones we got. all like that. Hey, listen, you can only play 5. There's going to be a first team and a second team. Get used to it.
There you go. Thank you, Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
Bye.
All right, back to the Yellowwood hotline. Get Josh in. Good morning, Josh.
Morning.
Hey, good morning. How are y'all?
We're good. How are you, bud?
Good. Enjoyed the Alabama win. I think they played really well. My question is, have y'all noticed we don't have a short to intermediate passing game? It's either down the field or check downs.
Well, I think the defense dictates that. I think it's according to what the linebackers do for the other team, who they're trying to cover on the short pass stuff. I think Kevin DeBoer and his staff have whatever they feel like they need to win. I don't think it's a lack of. I just think they haven't done that.
Yeah. Ryan Williams, 4 catches, 75 yards. That's 19 and a half yards a catch. So they aren't throwing the long ball. You're talking about the screen passes, like little out patterns and that stuff, Josh. That's what you're talking a little bit more about.
Yeah, just the 5 to 12 or 15 yards. It just seems like we don't target or throw that at all. And the only other thing I worry about in tight games like this next one, I believe, is going to be a very tight game. It's all good to score quick, but if Georgia goes on, or whoever we play goes on a long drive, and you put your defense back out there without a lot of rest.
Yeah,
I guess more controlling the tempo. And, when we run really well and it's a lot of big plays. Just a concern for me, just something I haven't seen a lot of.
Yeah, I hear you, because Georgia can grind you down, then you go out and boom, 3 quick passes, then the defense back out there, they can wear them down. And don't look at what happened against Kentucky. If anything, that probably helps Georgia's preparation for Alabama, as they have 2 weeks now to get ready.
Well, I'll guarantee you it does. I think for Georgia, one point is 1 point, and that's a win. But it's certainly, I guarantee you, he'll have them ready.
Yeah, he'll have them ready coming in here, no doubt. Thank you, Josh.
All right, thank y'all.
All right, we'll get back up here to the Yellowwood hotline, get Philip in. Good morning, Philip.
Good morning, guys. How you doing?
Good.
Okay.
Good. Hey, here's a thing I want to mention about Tim Brando's top 15, which he left Alabama out, by the way. I guess.
Well, I know that. I just talked to him last night. He's going to be on Friday.
We're going to have him on Friday and find out why he's.
I got him on Friday at 8:00.
Why he's not picking Alabama.
Yeah, well, I mean, he doesn't have us in his top 15. He's got us on the edge, but he is impressed enough with Iowa State, who didn't play last weekend, to be number 15.
Well, he's a Big 12 guy, I'm gonna get after him a little bit. That's a little petty not to have Alabama.
I thought it was stupid. I thought it was being stupid.
I talked to him last night. He said about all the Alabama people are mad at me, and I said, "Well, I know that." So we're having him on. So we got him on.
We'll have him on and let him explain why that's his. Why he's saying that. I think he told Dad some things, but we'll let him share it with you guys on Friday as to why he thinks Alabama should not be ranked in the top 15.
Yeah, I'll be interested to hear where he pulls that out of his you-know-what, because it doesn't make a damn bit of sense.
No, it doesn't.
But anyway, Kansas State's a good football team. I'll tell you that. I thought what they did the other night to Arizona was pretty doggone impressive. I thought Alabama looked really good. I thought that was going to be a close game, and Alabama blew them out and got a good one coming up, man. It's going to be interesting.
I hated Alabama looked good. I hated their quarterback got hurt. I wanted to see because he was playing well, and they were playing well. And then Coach Fickell was, in the press conference. I told the guys, I don't know if you've ever gotten your ASS whooped, but if you hadn't, you have now. He just talked about Alabama whooped that tail. He was very frustrated about it. He said not that our kids didn't prepare, they didn't work hard. Sometimes that just happens, but now they got to go to Southern Cal after a week off. We'll see what happens there. So,
hey, Barry, before I go, was it my imagination, or did Justice Haynes play himself into the doghouse?
What is the deal with that? I was at a place that had like 9 game zones. I wasn't paying close attention. I looked, he only had 2 carries. What happened there?
I thought it was regarding his receptions. Alabama threw a couple of passes to him. I believe both were on third down, and he didn't do very well. And at that point, he exited the game.
Yeah. Well, he's going to want to have a big part in this game with Georgia coming in, being a Georgia kid. So hopefully they get him.
Hey, Philip.
Yes, sir.
You know what Tim's ending remark to me last night on the phone was?
I can't imagine.
He said Georgia's going to crush him.
Well, good for Tim. So that makes me feel even better about it.
Yeah. Georgia's going to crush Alabama, he says. So
yeah, that makes me feel even better about it.
We'll see. We will see. That's why they're going to play. But we got to wait a week. I got to figure out how much money I'm going to get from my house. Now my kids tell me they're coming to stay with me, so I guess I'm going to have to keep the house for the weekend. So
I need to go somewhere.
989845. 800-398-9845. That's 800-398-9845. Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
We'll maintain the chance of a few scattered showers today, otherwise partially sunny, the high 81. Clear tonight, the low 63. Tomorrow and Wednesday, the sky partly to mostly sunny both days, highs between 84 and 87. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
You're listening to Inside the Locker Room with Wimp and Barry, only on Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Well, in North Carolina, way back in the hill, lived my old pappy, and he had him a still. He brewed a white lightning until the sun went down, and then he'd fill him a jug and he'd pass it around.
Welcome back. There we go, Chase. That's the one. That's Max Howell's walk-up music on Think Yellowwood, pressure-treated pine from Great Southern. He's a former assistant football coach at Florida State, Ole Miss, radio personality in the Southeast, joins us every Monday. Max, now that's the right music. Now everything seems okay.
I think it gets started off right this morning.
There we go. Max, why are these teams, of course, some of them are consistently bad. Florida and Florida State have shown us they're going to be bad, but other teams, man, you don't. Right. I'm feeling for Dad. He's trying to pick these blue plates, and these teams you don't know what they're going to do from one week to the next, other than maybe Texas and Tennessee. And I don't know. I guess Texas has played Michigan. Why are these teams so inconsistent this year?
I think if you have to look at the schedule, Barry, I know the Kentucky-South Carolina situation. I don't think there's any doubt. Georgia had that ball game, and they saw Kentucky just fumble around against South Carolina. And Kentucky wasn't getting ready for South Carolina. Kentucky was getting ready for, to play Georgia, and they did. They played them. They stayed ahead of them all the way to the last 4 or 5 minutes of the ball game. And I think that's today's football. Keep in mind too, guys, that with all the new transfers coming in, and it's hard to check a roster now to see where the strengths and weaknesses are. The whole game is changing, and the inconsistency is going to be part of it. I sit here this morning and try to run down the top 3 or 4 teams in the Southeastern Conference and how they may work out. And I didn't just look at who they're playing now. I look at 2 or 3 games ahead. Well, some of these coaches have got some key wins they feel like they've got to make. Like one coming up this week, Coach Pittman's got, I think he feels like he's got to beat Auburn in Auburn this week, and that's going to be, I think, an uphill battle. So I think there's several reasons why that's happening, but I know that I really feel like that the Kentucky situation with Georgia, the reason they played them so well is it took them 2 weeks to get ready for them.
Yeah, even the off games, you look at how poor UAB played the week before. You thought, they're going to get blown out at Arkansas, and they're in a dogfight at Arkansas. You talked about Georgia 2 weeks ago. South Florida's playing like that, and then you think, well, surely now Florida State's had a week off. They're going to play so much better. Does Florida State not have a backup quarterback? Good land. This is bad, Max.
Yeah, see, and I think there's going to be some other teams as we watched during the year. The injury factor I think it's going to take its toll. When you don't have but one guy at this level,
guys, y'all been around it long enough. It's hard to go through a whole season, particularly when you got now with two other big teams coming into the conference. Week in and week out, you're going to have a few injuries along the way. So you better not just get the ones ready. You better get the ones and the twos on an equal par, ready to play football. And a lot of coaches won't do the quarterback situation. They feel like that, that they'll protect him and, he'll take a lick or two, but he won't go out. Well, we saw a couple this past weekend go out. You see what happened to the football team. So, and I think Texas is a good example coming up this week. I look for its managed to start against Louisiana Monroe. They're going to let US rest, I think. He took a pretty good hit. They got a good schedule going up. So I think when you got some depth, you better sure get ready to use it when you got a chance to.
Yeah, that.
Well, I don't think it's the best game, but maybe besides Oklahoma, Tennessee, the most interesting game for me because of coaches is Arkansas and
right.
Auburn. I think Auburn is very, very limited in what they can do. Their defense, they got very good defense coordinators, but their defense has not played very well, and the offense struggling. So, Arkansas is down to UAB by a touchdown and a half. Comes back and wins, and he's on a hot seat. You can comment on that game for our listeners, if you will.
Well, I think I didn't watch the Auburn game, but I kept up on the score. And, they played off and on, and finally came back, scored 45 against New Mexico. But I think there's some uncertainty there. I mean, certainly with the quarterback situation. But it looked like I think the number 2 guy came in and rallied a bit toward the end. But I think that one, I think Tennessee and Oklahoma is going to probably be the game of the week. But I think the Arkansas-Auburn, that may be more of the line right now, particularly with Coach Pittman. And I don't know that he can go in and beat Auburn the way they played against UAB. Now, that may be another situation where they played against UAB mainly because they were getting ready for Auburn. We won't know that till Saturday. But I think it's going to be both those two games will be pretty competitive, I think. But I'm going to take Tennessee, and I'm going to take Auburn at home against Arkansas on that one.
Max, just what were your thoughts about Alabama? They seem to be, when that starting quarterback for Wisconsin went down and there's blood in the water, they started attacking. They seem to be a little faster on defense. This defense seems to be a little more aggressive maybe than they have been here the last couple of years. But your thoughts about what you've seen with Alabama?
Yeah, I think they are. I think they're on a level playing field right now, and I think they're getting better each week. I think that was an outstanding effort they had at Wisconsin this past weekend. Melrose is, I think, adjusting. I think, they came in, it was all in the preseason. They talked about wanting to try to keep Melrose in the pocket. To me, the ideal situation for Melrose is put him on the corner because he's a good runner as well. And he's a big kid, and the lack of injury or lack of opportunity for an injury, I think, is pretty small at him out there one-on-one. So, but I like Alabama. I like where they come in right now. And of course, I tried to put Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, and Texas the top 4 in the SEC, and I think that's the way it's going to probably work out. And I think all of us have to pay attention. Alabama's got to go to Knoxville toward the end of the season. We know sometimes they don't have a lot of good luck up there. A lot of things go against them. So I think that's going to be the probably biggest key right now they've got coming in the year's future is how they handle Tennessee, and that's the fact that Tennessee keeps rolling like they are as well.
Yeah. Lane Kiffin, they go to Wake Forest and they blow them out. After the game, It's supposed to be a home and home. John Curry, who used to be an associate AD at Tennessee, is at Wake Forest now. Home and home, he says we're not returning the game. We're paying $1 million. We're going to buy out of the game. I don't know about that. That doesn't sit well. They go there, You need to go back. Now, of course, Lane Kiffin's saying at this late a day, it's hard to find people to play. Just your thoughts about what Wake Forest did there, buying out of that game.
Yeah, I'm puzzled, I'll be honest with you, at that level because, getting beat at Wake Forest is not unusual. I'm sure they understand that. But maybe they are. They've got a new philosophy in that, trying to build a program. They've been, on the field, been pretty good for the last year or two. But historically, and I really think you have to step back and take a look at a program like that and say, hey, and evidently they saw something in Ole Miss. Ole Miss is going, as long as Kiffin stays there, and that's another story for another day. Basically, that they can't compete with them on the field. So, maybe that was the reason they do. I don't know the underlying reason there. But Lane's absolutely right. Getting another. They'll have to buy somebody at a much lower level to fill that date, and I'm sure that's what they'll go after. There's some smaller schools that go in there just to get the money, regardless of who that go into Oxford, in particular, to fill that coming up.
Yeah, that.
I don't really have anything, questions particularly. Barry, if you have something,
I just wanted your thoughts on that LSU South Carolina game. South Carolina starts out on fire. The guy hurts his ankle there, I think right towards the end of the half. I was in New Orleans. There was a lot of people very frustrated. Then they started coming back, so they started getting happy again.
Sure.
South Carolina may not recover from this game. They honestly should have won that game, to be honest with you.
They should have, and but the quarterback situation is what. See, they didn't. The number two, the number two guys that get transferred from Auburn. And I didn't see him do anything that was, that can be considered competitive for South Carolina. I mean, he couldn't run, he couldn't throw. He just, I don't know what it was. I don't know whether he was uptight about being in the game or what. But there was something there that just didn't mesh with what South Carolina's done. And I know, you go back and see how South Carolina played against Kentucky. But I'm going to tell you right now, that to me, that was no surprise. Kentucky wasn't even looking at South Carolina. Kentucky was looking at Georgia. And you saw what Kentucky did. They played Georgia off their feet till the last 3 or 4 minutes of the ball game. And that's a reality. That happens today, guys. I'm just telling you, that's because of the pressure on the coaches to win at almost all cost. In particular, if you're struggling anyway, you've got to pull an upset to keep your job. And I think Kentucky kind of rolled the dice on that. And it almost worked for them. So, but the injury factor certainly has got a great, particularly the quarterback situation. Regardless of how many kids come through on the portal and how many want to transfer in and out, there's only a few that can make that adjustment and come in, and I think that's probably the hardest position to make the transfer to another system when the quarterback's got to know, even though all the plays are being called from the sideline, still they got to perform. And I think that's part of the problem we're seeing right now.
Dad, were you about to say something?
Well, I was talking about the quarterback situation at Auburn. Is they tried to make it good, and it was decent defensively. Right. I thought they were not what everybody thought they were going to be. Where does Auburn? Where does Hugh stand? And they've got Arkansas and Oklahoma, both these teams at home. This thing is even though they've recruited well, this thing has gone downhill as far as playing on the field. I felt like
no doubt it has, Coach. I just looked at the schedule all the way through. I think best they're going to win 5 or 6. I don't see them winning many more.
No, they won't. 6 be the top. I thought 8, but that's going to be
6. Right, I think it is. I mean, I just looked at it 5 minutes ago, and I just kind of went down and based on what we've seen up to now. Now that there may be some miraculous changes in the opponent. That the opponents coming in, the ones that come into Auburn, may lose a quarterback, just like some we've seen before, but later in the season, and he may get a break that way. But if everything looks like it does right now, I think 6 is going to be the top they can do. Of course, the only other team either one of you guys asked about is about Florida. That change is coming. I mean, I'll tell you this: I know for a fact that the board of trustees met yesterday, and they already got the ball rolling. They just hadn't announced it yet. And
who they hire?
I just don't see the people saw about Lane Kiffin. I don't see him leaving everything he's built there. His daughter's at Ole Miss. She asked him not to go.
You want me to tell you why he will?
Well, she asked him not to go to Auburn because she said, "Hey, you left me when you were when I was growing up or whatever." And I think he's kind of changed. I just don't see him going there. But tell me why. Tell me why he will.
How about for $12.5 million for 7 years plus incentives? And Florida wants to come back. They won't hire somebody that wants to be the number one coach in America because they've been down so long, and they've got the money to do it. They've already tapped into the foundation funds. I know pretty well. I had conversations with 2 people down there last night, and I guarantee you their foundation's over $2 billion in Florida. And all they did, they got a borrowing situation set up. They can go in and buy him, and that's their plan. I don't know whether it works or not. I don't know, but I know what the plan is, and that's who they're going after. And Jimmy Sexton's going to pull all the strings for them, and they're not going to announce it. They got 4 or 5 others guys on the list. Don't get me wrong, but
I just don't. I mean, looks like Ole Miss may be in the play. They may be in the playoffs. So now you're not going to be able to get him till the middle of January. I don't know.
But here's the deal: Lane cannot win a national championship at Ole Miss, and he certainly can win one at Florida. And the reason is, I mean, you have to look deep. There's 3 or 4 schools in the conference that can play well at times, and they can win 10 or 11 ball games, but they can't get over the hump. They don't have enough support. They don't have enough finances to keep getting kids to get 2 and 3 deep at every position. You can't win a championship, guys, with less than 40 players. I mean, 40 that can play. And Ole Miss can get 25 that can play, and that's the difference. I remember I worked there. I worked in that, and it was a recruiting coordinator at there. I understand nationally how they stand. And they can't go to California and get a kid on a regular basis. They'll pick up 1, 2, or 3 along the way, but you can't get enough. That's the same thing at South Carolina, Kentucky. I can just go down the list of schools that they can have a good season now and then, but they can't get to the championship situation.
But there's so many teams in Florida. You got Florida State, you got Miami, you got UCF. There's so many people fighting for those players over there now. Max, can they go outside of Florida and get them?
Yeah, but you know how many players Florida's got? D1 players. They got about 220 every year.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was at Florida State, I'm telling you. And we didn't ever take all our kids. We didn't take 25 from Florida. We took 15 or 18, and then we went up and down the coast and took the others. And that's what you can do. When Coach Bowden was there, I was there when we were number 1 in the country. And I'm telling you, it's easy to recruit there. I'm going to tell you. And how they've let that program, Norvell, I don't know why he's made mistakes but he's sitting 0-3. And I didn't know this, that he'd gone 0-3 maybe his first year there before, after he inherited the mess down there that he did. But he got it straightened out. And I don't know where he's going to get a chance. If he goes, 0, I don't think he can go. I don't think he'll go 0 for this year. But if he's not going to win but 2 or 3 of the way they're playing right now. But Florida's a unique situation. You've got enough players down there, but they do have a lot of schools that are vying. And every other major university comes in there as well, and are trying to tap 1 or 2 out of there. So you set your formula. Or if you got 8, 19, 20 scholarships this year, or 25, whatever the limit is now, then you take the majority out of your state, and then go up and down and go to Texas, California, and pick up 1 or 2 others.
Yeah, maybe you will. If I was Lane Kiffin, I wouldn't go to Florida. But we'll see if he does. So I think he's got a pretty good situation there. His daughter seemed to love it, and I just wouldn't mess with it. But
the one thing that has to happen there. They have to hire a name.
They do.
They're not going to make it without one, but they're not going to go to the assistant coach's route, I don't think, and try to hire somebody that they think is very, very good, but has not proved himself. I think, and I don't know how many names, a little bit like that, how many names are willing to go to Florida. But I think there's got to be a name.
Yeah, I want to ask you this, Max, about a name that's kind of. I was singing his praises about 2 years ago. He has worn me out now. Is Deion Sanders? My goodness. Like they're throwing the ball at the very end against Colorado State. I'm sure because Colorado State was talking, they're snapping the ball with 11 seconds on the play clock. Even the announcer was like, that's not smart. You get your son hurt or one of these linemen hurt here when you got this game won. When they're playing Nebraska, they're getting that booty smack. So Shedeur Sanders goes to the locker room before the game's over, but he's out there to talk this game. Do they not see what's happening here? Well, tell me what Deion's thinking with all this.
Let me tell you what he's doing for Colorado first, and then it transfers over, I think, to what's happening on the field. He brought them a $100 million advertising package, and that's something Colorado had never had before. and that's where that's why the program has emerged. Not only his name, but the coaching situation is that's just his personality, and he's going to run them through and run. A lot of the NFL is still in him, and he's going to run kids in and out of there. And he's got a main goal in mind. That's to get his two sons to the NFL, and that's what he's trying to do. And I think the quarterback situation probably. I don't think he's he may be a low first round pick, but I think there's some other things that may interfere with that. But the other one's probably be a third or fourth round pick, possibly if he can get that done. And then he's going the defensive back. They're probably going to play in the NFL as a wide receiver. He'll go in the first round too. Yeah. But then what do they do after that? They're going to fall back into the same because the newness is going to wear off. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know where he stays. His full length, his contract, because of the money, the allocations for the athletic department. We all know it's a very liberal university, and athletics is not important. It hadn't been for years there, and the board of trustees had overridden the administration to bring him in to start with, and it paid off financially for the university. But the football team I think it's just going to be an average football team.
So I'm saying a Florida can't take a chance. A Florida can't take a chance on him, can they?
No, they're not going to do that. Let me tell you something else that's going to happen in Florida, too. They're in the process of hiring a new president. That's first of all. Second is they're going to have a new athletic director as well. So it's going to be almost a house cleaning down there. And a lot of people haven't looked into it that deep, but I can almost assure you that's going to happen. And it's going to be in order. The president, they got an interim right now. They'll got one or two on the line. They're going to try to get that solved in the next 30 days, and then a new athletic director will probably come in sometime about mid-season. That would allow time to go after whichever football coach they want for next year.
Yeah. Anyway, it should be interesting. I don't know. Just the Colorado things. It was kind of neat at first, and now it's kind of gotten old.
It is. Well, it's the way that it's the way the team's playing, and he wants to be out there. And I tell you something also, guys. Dion's got some health problems. Yeah. I don't know how. If you watch those ads that he's doing with Coach Saban now, he makes reference to his injury on his foot. Mm-hmm. Well, he's already lost two toes, and the word I'm getting from the medical side is he may lose a foot next. Mm-hmm. So it's pretty serious for him. So it would surprise me if he doesn't maybe stay another year or two on the field, and then take off and go settle somewhere.
Yeah. Who wins that? Before you go, who wins that Tennessee at Oklahoma game?
I'm taking Tennessee all the way.
Okay.
I don't think Oklahoma.
Hey, good question.
Really?
Yeah. I think Tennessee throws the ball all over them.
Okay. Well, Max, what you cooking this weekend? What's your supper?
Man, we're gonna do this. Weather's getting ready to change. We've had rain, a lot of rain over here, and the river's all up, and the fish are still swimming pretty hard. I talked to a couple of guys yesterday. They want to have a big fish fry coming up this weekend. So we'll do fish and hush puppies, French fries, and coleslaw. Do all the particulars, and the dessert is a friend of mine just gave me a new recipe for that. He brought me not long ago a new cake. He cooks a pound cake and cuts it vertically across the middle, and in between the two big layers, you lay blueberries and whipped cream. And then you top it off with homemade ice cream on top.
Nice.
And you talk about good, man. That thing will make your tongue slap your roof of your mouth in a heartbeat.
Well, Max, we're glad we got the music right. Everything seems good. We'll look forward to talking to you about Georgia, Alabama next week. See what happens see what's going to happen in that game. Thank you. Have a great week.
Thank you so much, guys. Always.
Appreciate it. There's Max Howell. All right, good job, Chase, there, getting that walk-up music right. I don't know what that was you played last week, but you knocked it out of the park this week. Chase, you didn't bet on Auburn, did you? You didn't bet on the Blue Plate Special, did you?
I actually did. I thought Auburn was going to pull it out, because there's no way they can dupe it again.
What was the Blue Plate Special this week? It wasn't Auburn. It was Florida.
Yeah,
you
didn't
bet
Florida
Florida.
And Texas A&M.
Yeah, you didn't bet Florida, did you?
No, I didn't bet on that game. I bet on LSU.
How did Gary do this week? Did you look at his numbers?
I will look over the break.
Look him up. And I'll have to check Doug's as well. All right. We want to thank Yellowwood, pressure-treated pine from Great Southern Wood. Always remember, guys, if it doesn't have that yellow tag on it, you don't want it. This is Tide 100.9, 1230 AM, WTBC. It's the home of Alabama sports.
Weekday mornings at 6 a.m., The Martin Houston Show.
Join The Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier, powered by Fox Eye Care. For a Tuesday edition of the program, we'll add DC Capstone Report to the conversation. We'll get his good, bad, and ugly. We'll get his key takeaways. We'll also take a jaunt around the SEC and the nation with him, and we'll get a little bit of that Georgia conversation. Those conversations and more, you can get in at it, 205-342-9904. That's Empowerment Strategy Solutions Hotline, right here on your home for Alabama Sports, Tide 100.9 and 1230 a.m.
Catch the Martin Houston Show from 6 to 7 weekday mornings on Tide 100.9.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. Seeing some delays up north in Northport on the westbound lanes of make that Rose Boulevard onto Wildcat Drive. It looks like we might have a little trouble there. And then the whole intersection at Mitt Larry Road, Rose.
That control growth. They also perform an important function by controlling blood pressure and minerals like calcium and potassium to keep the entire body healthy.
WTBC Tuscaloosa and W265CG Tuscaloosa, a Town Square media station. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Eddie Garcia.
Checking Sunday's action from Week 2 in the NFL. The game of the day was in Kansas City, where the Chiefs edged the Bengals 26-25 on a Harrison Butker 51-yard field goal as time expired. Kansas City's 2-0, Cincinnati 0-2. Cowboys lose big at home to the Saints 44-19. New Orleans is 2-0. Ravens lose at home to the Raiders 26-23. Baltimore drops to 0-2. The Rams are 0-2 after falling to the Cardinals 41-10. Vikings knock off the 49ers 23-17. Minnesota's 2-0. Lions lose at home to the Buccaneers 20-16. Tampa Bay's 2-0. Sunday night game had the Texans beating the Bears 19-13. Houston's 2-0. Steelers are 2-0 after beating the Broncos in Denver 13-6. Jets down the Titans in Tennessee 24-17. Packers over the Colts.
Are older in Alabama and present in the state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concern with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org.
Inside the Locker Room with former Crimson Tide basketball coach Wimp Sanderson and his son, former SEC and ACC assistant basketball coach Barry Sanderson. It's time to take you inside the locker room on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back to the second hour of Inside the Locker Room. Allstate Insurance agent Andrew Kniffer. He is my agent. Let Andrew become yours. They're out at 4705 McFarland Boulevard, Suite 3 over in Northport. Don't just pay your bill. Know exactly what you got insurance-wise. You're looking for home, life, auto. You need business insurance. You need renter's insurance. Whatever you need, they'll take great care of you. 205-722-9201. You'll be in good hands with Allstate Insurance and Andrew Kniffer. Give him a call today. Tell him that Wimp and Barry sent you. All right. Yeah, John Curry, Dad, who is the athletic director at Wake Forest, he was at Tennessee from 2000 to 2009, left there, went to Kansas State as the AD, went to Tennessee. I don't think he was at Tennessee but a year. Something didn't work out there, and he's currently the athletic director at Wake Forest. So Ole Miss goes in there, they spank Wake Forest, and then they buy out of the return. That seems kind of personal there between maybe something he didn't like with Lane Kiffin. I don't know what the thinking is there, but for Wake Forest to pay $1 million not to go to Oxford, you don't see that often, really. Just your thoughts about that.
Well, I had to. I'm surprised that they're willing to pay the $1 million to get out of the contract, which I don't know, doesn't make any sense. I think it hurts them in recruiting, and I think it hurts them in transfer portal stuff. So sometimes now the Wake Forest guys, although one of the problems they have, Barry, I think you would agree, is they have a hard time getting people in school. And for a person to transfer, he's got to have halfway decent grades, and that makes the transfer portal more difficult for them. So based on all of that, he feels like their team is not going to be very good. They just got football just to have it, and the ACC is not very good outside of maybe Clemson being decent and Miami. So I think that's the way he felt. But the board of trustees has to approve that, and I guess they did.
Yeah, you look here, you talk about the ACC. Obviously, Florida State has not looked good at all. They're out of it. And Clemson's just kind of quietly over there. They didn't play this weekend. They got blown out by Georgia. They blow out App State. They got NC State at home this weekend. Then they got Stanford at home. Then they go to Florida State and Wake. So they'll win those. Then they got Virginia at home, Louisville at home. You go to Virginia Tech at Pitt, the Citadel, and then South Carolina at home. They're quietly sitting over there, and by the time this thing's all said and done, they may be sitting there at 11-1, and they'll be in this playoff because they'll probably win this ACC or be at 11-1 and ranked high enough if they lost to Miami. These schedules, like Ohio State, they don't play anybody. They got like Akron or somebody this weekend. These teams with these softer schedules, that's quite an advantage for them, where these SEC teams are just going to chew each other up.
Well, I think that they're looking at numbers of wins, and they're interested in finding out how the committee. If you're a big time team, if you're at Ohio State, or Alabama, or Oregon, or somebody like that, you can get by with that because you go in on name. You go in on name, and I think the athletic director at Alabama was correct. You got to see what the athletic people are going to do when they decide really on the last three teams of the 12, how much they're going to have. Actually, all the teams. How much are they going to depend on who they played as to what they're going to do? With it, there are certain the criteria there is different. It's different, but there is a criteria where you've got to, you've got to decide between two or three teams, and as we saw, the Florida State Alabama situation last year. So I think that's important. You're right. The schedules are not very good. But your name is big in the thing, I feel like.
Yeah, I just don't like Ohio State. They opened up with Akron.
I know.
They played Western Michigan. This weekend, they were off. This weekend, they play Marshall. Like, come on. Then they got Michigan State, Iowa, and then they do travel to Oregon. They got Nebraska at home. They have to go to Penn State. Then they got Purdue, which they're going to win. Northwestern, they're going to win. Indiana and Michigan at home.
Look at Ole Miss. Now, Ole Miss is not a national name, particularly, but they got a very, very weak schedule. You and I haven't talked about that much. Most of the time, we talked about Texas, but Ole Miss has probably got as weak a schedule as anybody in the league.
Yeah, I'm going to pull up Ole Miss's schedule right here. They haven't played anybody. Yeah, I do think it stiffens a little bit towards the middle. Let's see, where's Mississippi? I can't even find Mississippi on here. They hadn't played anybody. So where's Ole Miss? Oh, there it is, Ole Miss. All right, Ole Miss, and I need them to lose 3 games. They've played nobody. They played Furman, Middle Tennessee. They just played Wake. They got Georgia Southern this weekend. Then they got Kentucky at home. They go to South Carolina, and then they go to LSU. Will they win both those games?
You talking about Georgia?
No, Ole Miss.
Ole Miss going to South Carolina and
LSU. They got back-to-back trips.
I don't know if they will. I think the LSU game will be so dramatic. You're actually too young to realize how they have carry on about that game. I think that game will be. I know the coach, probably the coaching staff, but it's been a significant game for a long time. South Carolina, Barry, plays hard.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they play hard. They're after it. They're into it. I have not understood limp that the quarterback had when he got it wasn't a bad limp. It just he didn't have any moxie to get back in. I maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they said it hurt him for the rest of the year or something. But it wasn't a really bad look at him, offensively. So I don't know.
There are other games they got in a row. Like I said, they got Kentucky at home. They go to South Carolina, go to LSU. They got Oklahoma at home. They go to Arkansas. Then they got Georgia at home. And then they go to Florida and then finish up with Mississippi State. So they should handle those last two. But that in the middle there, Georgia, Arkansas on the road, Oklahoma at LSU at South Carolina. We'll find out real fast. It seems like, some of these coaches, like Kirby Smart, only thing I would say about him is Nick Saban never did is they played at a level of competition. When they went to Kentucky, I mean, come on. That game should not be that close. Sometimes his teams play down. Don't you see that? Do you agree?
Yeah, I think you're right. I do think they play down. I think it's going to be a very, very interesting 2 weeks.
Yeah. So you laughed when I said about that Tennessee Oklahoma game. So you think that's Tennessee goes in there and wipes them?
Yeah. I think they beat them. I think they beat them 3 touchdowns.
Really?
Yeah. I don't. Of course, if I blue play, they'll get beat. Well, so I don't know. I think they'll beat them pretty bad. I don't know what the line's going to be.
Line's 7.5 right now.
Okay. I'm guessing the line will go to 10.
Blue played it today then.
So I don't know what I need to do on that. I haven't had time to study it, but Tennessee is I don't know. They are mopping up on everybody, and they don't mind mopping up on them. There are times that you back off a little bit. These 71 scores, they just mopping up on them. Now, whether that, I think Alabama will have their hands full going up there. I don't know that, but I think they will. And it's the Georgia-Alabama game has put the Alabama fans in a good feel because of the 13-12 game and the way they played at Wisconsin. I think the Alabama fans feeling really good about I don't know what that line will be. I'm guessing Georgia's going to be a 3-point favorite. I'm just guessing. But I think it's put the Alabama fans in a pretty good feel, thinking that things are going to be really good, and they could be.
Yeah, after watching LSU, I don't think LSU can beat Alabama this year. I just don't see it. They might can beat some people, but I don't think they can beat Alabama.
They're not much better defensively than that.
They're not going to beat Alabama. Tennessee can beat them. Georgia can beat them. Right now, that's about all I see that can beat them. Right now. It might change, but we'll see. All right, we'll take the break here. We'll get to Doug Bell. We'll look at Doug's picks as well. Find out how Doug did over the weekend. I know one of his picks was Colorado State, so that's not going to be good. All right, you listen to Tide 100.9. It's the home of Alabama sports.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. We definitely have some volume starting to crank up in Northport, and this is on Rose Boulevard in both the east and westbound direction between Frankie Thomas and 43. Some heavy traffic there right now. Brake lights are pretty heavily tapping, and also moving on
3537 Skyland Boulevard East or online at bmwoftuscaloosa.com. BMW of Tuscaloosa. Take your dreams for a drive.
Crimson Tide Today is presented on Tide 100.9, WTBC 1230 by BMW of Tuscaloosa. Online at bmwoftuscaloosa.com.
From the University of Alabama, this is Crimson Tide Today. It's a daily update on Bama sports, and it's brought to you by CB&S Bank. Bank anywhere, at any time with CB&S Bank's digital solutions. Managing your finances has never been so easy. Hello again, everybody. I'm Roger Hoover. Alabama football improved to 3-0 on the season with Saturday's 42-10 win at Wisconsin. Here's head coach Kalen DeBoer after the victory.
Just proud of the guys. Thought it was a solid overall performance. Team football, getting the takeaways and putting points on the board when we got the ball back, getting a stop on fourth down, scoring, getting the field goal, forcing them to a field goal at the end of the half, and then the offense responding with a quick drive. I think, and then coming back in the third quarter too. Those are big swings in momentum, and I think our guys with their energy It was there all week, just knowing that the only choice is always to go back to work, and that's the way it's always going to be. And they did exactly that. I thought it was the best rhythm to practice, and I think they're getting into the flow now of what a game plan week looks like.
I'll have more in a moment.
CB&S Bank has a long history of stability and a legacy of serving our community's needs for generations. You could say we know a thing or two about tradition. We've been family, community, and financially strong since we began in 1906. Being a team player is part of our culture. That's why at CB&S Bank, we're proud to sponsor the University of Alabama Athletics and prouder to take the field or court with you. Visit cbsbank.com today. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Join us tonight for Crimson Tide Rewind, presented by the Alabama Department of Public Health, live at Baumhower's Victory Grill at 6 p.m. Central, all across the radio network and the Varsity Network app. Crimson Tide Today is brought to you by CB&S Bank. Crimson Tide Today is a production of the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield.
Where the season never ends. This is your home of Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Tuscaloosa Toyota. Go to TuscaloosaToyota.com. That Toyota 2024 Tundra, 1.99 APR. The Tacoma, 3.99 APR. The Camry, the 2025s are in, 3.99 for 36 months there. Swing by Skyline Boulevard. You can go right to the website and do all your business right there. You can look at the new inventory, the pre-owned inventory. You can schedule a service, rent a Toyota, whatever you need at TuscaloosaToyota.com, or swing by Skyline Boulevard, see Justin and tell him that Wimp and Barry sent you. All right, get to the Yellowwood hotline here. He is play-by-play with PGA Tour Radio, PGA Tour Live, CBS Sports Headquarters. Joins us every Monday, Doug Bell. Good morning, Doug. How are you, sir?
Hey, Barry. Hey, Coach. Man, it's good to be with you guys. What's happening in Tuscaloosa today?
There's not much today. It's an off week this week.
There you go.
There's just not the people are not real happy with Dad with that blue plate special. They're mad in Tuscaloosa now.
They're saying that I'm bad as you are.
Yeah.
Well,
he said, now I know how Doug feels. I don't know what that
exactly.
means.
Well, no, I feel good to have Coach on my team, and we're going to turn it around this week.
Yeah.
Big turnaround week, so I'm excited.
Yeah.
Listen, you got to remain positive. It's early in the season, guys.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's talk a little golf.
Yeah.
Patton Kizzire. Tell the listener, what does this win do for him?
Well, number one, he's a Tuscaloosa guy, as you know. And yeah, well, he went to Auburn. He was the number one player in the Southeast, arguably the number one amateur in the country coming out of high school. And Auburn had a better golf team at the time. This was before Jay Sewell. Take nothing away from the Alabama coach at the time, but Auburn was a higher-ranked team, so he goes there, meets his future wife. They live in Sea Island. His family still lives in Tuscaloosa. I think Pat's a great guy, but, guys, last year he finished outside the top 125, had his worst year as a professional, and really was going nowhere. I mean, he was on the verge of just having to go to the Korn Ferry Tour and scramble. His career was in shambles, and he stays – he goes to work. And so he wins going away out in Napa. So he gets a 2-year exemption. He moves up to number 70 on the fall list, guys, which means he's in all the tournaments next year, including the first 2 signature events. So, if he keeps playing well this fall, he could secure all those signature events, but it completely turns his career around. He had not won in 6 years, 8 months, almost 7 years since his last win. He's 38 years old. And that's the time that a lot of golfers, hit that wall, professional golfers. So good for him. I don't know if you guys were watching it when they interviewed him afterwards. He was emotional. He was really emotional.
So this win does not get him in all the signature events then, Doug?
No, gets him in the first 2.
Explain that.
Well, again, he finishes outside the top 125 last year, so he lost his card. He had no playing privileges, didn't make the playoffs, top 70, made the playoffs. And so he enters the fall with the opportunity with a win, you jump from where he was 127 now to 70 in the fall points list. You can't climb inside the top 70 because those guys have already secured their spots for 2025. But you can be the number one guy outside that top 70, which he is now. And so he has not secured all the signature events because he finished outside the top 70 at the end of the year, if that makes sense. I mean, you can't pass guys who had a great 2024 just because you won a tournament in the fall. But with that said, it's a 2-year exemption, so he knows where he's going to play now for 2 years. This does not get him in the Masters, but he has opportunities now after the first of the year that he did not have prior to this week. So, again, it completely changes his career around at this stage of his life. At 38 years old, had lost his card. He could have played on the Korn Ferry Tour, which is a hard go for these guys because, again, he's 38, and you're on the Korn Ferry going against these guys right out of college. They're young. They're going for broke. They got nothing to lose. And he has a family now. So there's a great dynamic, and I really appreciate a guy like him who was really playing extremely well 7 years ago. He had 2 wins in about 16 months 7 years ago, and then he just fell off. But now he's back. So, and he played great, guys. This was not even a close fight. I mean, he won by 4 shots going away. And these are all guys that were playing pretty good. So, listen, I really appreciate these guys because golf is it's razor sharp, guys. I mean, you're right on that line. You're either on one side or the other. And unfortunately, before this week, he was way on the other side, but now he's back. So good for him.
Yeah.
I texted him last night, congratulating him, told him I wanted him on our show, and he was nice enough to text me back.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. I had met him one time. But
well, it's funny, Coach. I used to live over at Hoover Country Club many, many years ago. This was a long time ago when he was in high school in Tuscaloosa. And it was, you get these like, man, you ought to watch this Kazire kid play. He's really good. And I'm like, okay. So I went out at the state amateur there and watched him play. And I guess he was 17 years old at the time. He's 38 now. Tells you how long ago it was. And I was blown away. I was like, wow, this guy is ultra talented. And he's a big, tall guy, and he hit it a ton. And listen, he lived out. It's funny. After he came out of Auburn, he would turn pro with high expectations and struggled for a long time. And didn't win until he was 31, and now he wins again at 38. So it's the life of a professional golfer. Not everybody is those top guys, right? So you just kind of stick with it. So good for him. Fortitude pays off.
So what's going on with the LIV? I think they were meeting up in New York.
They won. John Rahm won $18 million yesterday, Barry.
Where does all that stand, Doug?
Well, the LIV has one more tournament, by the way, and right, Coach was right. John Rahm won the event yesterday in Chicago, and so whatever that means, he won $4 million, and he secured the points list for the season with that win, and he won an $18 million bonus, and so he is secure. Yesterday, he secured $22 million, and again, I'm not quite sure. He signed that mega contract, right? So I'm not sure what he wins goes on top of what they're paying him. I doubt it, but they're playing it off like he won $22 million yesterday. But to answer your question, Barry, right now it looks like the LIV is going to go on and do their thing next year, and the PGA Tour is going to go on. And LIV has already announced that 4 of their stops next year in 2025 will be opposite PGA Tour events. Up until the first 3 years, they've avoided big-time PGA Tour events, but that won't be the case next year. So they're forging ahead, doing their own thing, and it doesn't seem like it looked to me like earlier this year we were going to have an agreement, but ever since Tiger has got involved, and he's heavily involved, even though Tiger had surgery last week to take scar tissue off his, where he had the spinal area there, and he hopes it helps him next year. But anyway, since he's gotten involved and his team has gotten involved, the negotiations have stalled because Tiger and his team, they're tough negotiators. And so here we go. 2025, LIV will have their thing and the PGA Tour will do their thing.
Well, it looks to me like the big question is LIV is where they are going to be on television. I think that hurts them a great deal. People just don't pick up to television and find them as quick as they do the PGA. I think that's the difference.
It is, and I think what ultimately they're going to do in 2025 is LIV is just going to go. You can get them on a digital platform. You can go to live.com and things of that nature. They're just going to. I think they're going to, unless they come up with some miracle TV contract here in the next few months. But I just don't see that happening. So again, nobody watches LIV. I mean, here we are in the midst of football season. Jon Rahm wins some LIV tournament in Chicago, and on social media today, on Instagram, it's like, wow, $22 million, and he's hoisting the trophy. But, I mean, who even, unless you were actually there, it was just a non-entity. I mean, nobody even knows until they come out on Monday, pumping. To be honest with you guys, as I was watching football yesterday and then watching Patton Kizzire, because I think the world of Patton and his family, I didn't even know LIV. I didn't even know they were playing until I got up this morning and was going through some things, and there was all the information about Jon Rahm winning $22 million. So I don't know. I think that's kind of a that's kind of an editorial comment about where LIV is right now.
We need to mention that the ladies won the cups. They haven't won since 2017.
Yeah, that's a big deal. The Solheim Cup, and they beat Europe. And listen, if I'm out there a lot with Dottie Pepper. Who's a mainstay. And, back when she played in the Solheim Cup, the European ladies hated her. I mean, she was cutthroat and tough. Yeah. Really? And she would call penalties. And, I mean, and as I've talked to her, this is a big deal for ladies professional golf. Yeah. And, again, it happened amidst football season. Nobody's really paying attention to it, unfortunately, but I watched it a little bit, and yes, the ladies celebrated. It was very, very important for them. And, Coach, you're right. It's been a long time since Team USA or the United States
2017.
team. Yeah. So good for them. And listen, that says something about ladies professional golf. For years now, the LPGA has been dominated by young ladies from Asia, South Korea, et cetera, and European players, but now with Nelly Korda and some of these outstanding American players coming through the college ranks, American women's golf, I think, is probably in a better place now than it's been in maybe a decade or so. I mean, we've been searching for us really stars in the American women's scene for a long time, and now I think we finally have them. So good for them. Listen, that's good for, when the ladies' game is popular like that, it helps everybody. It helps the men's game and vice versa. So if you love golf, you gotta celebrate that win yesterday.
Are you going to Hawaii to the opening events?
I am. It's an off week this week for the PGA Tour, but I'm going to Montreal in 2 weeks, guys, for the President's Cup. Speaking of team competition, and so that'll be a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to that. That by the way, is opposite the Ryder Cup years. For those who don't know, the PGA it's been going on for 18 years or 18 times now. And it'll be the best on Team USA, led by Scotty Scheffler.
Montreal's nice. It's like a mini New York. It's nice.
Yeah, Royal Montreal. The golf course, by the way, Barry, is exceptional. It's beautiful. It's an old golf course. It's been there forever, and the scenery is fantastic. So the internet. This gives the international guys from whether it's Japan, South Korea, Australia, South Africa, places like that, they get to play in this team competition. And so it's a lot of fun. It's just they've never had a lot of success. They've only won once in 18 tries in the President's Cup. But there's 4 Canadians on the international team, so that should create a lot of interest, a lot of excitement. When it was in Charlotte 2 years ago, the President's Cup, even though the Americans won easily, they set records as far as attendance, what they charge, the corporate build out and the corporate payout was incredible at the President's Cup. So I'm looking forward to that in 2 weeks, even though I'm going to miss the Georgia-Alabama football game, but I'll be watching somewhere up in Montreal.
I'm so sorry you're having to work so hard. I'm sure that some of your people will be going with you tomorrow. to Montreal.
Well, Barry, because, I'm slaving over a hot microphone. It's a tough job. It really is.
Yeah.
But,
Well, we know you won't have any extra money to spend because we're going to go to your picks now.
Yeah, you're slaving over something hot. Ain't no microphone.
Chase, get ready. So last week, week 3, Doug, your current record was 2-4. Let's see how you did. You said, Doug, you said take Colorado State plus the 7.5 against the Buffaloes. You thought that was going to be there's too much talking going on. You thought Colorado State was going to be ready to play. No, Colorado won 28-9. So you add 7.5 to that 9, that would be a loss.
Well, and Barry, let me say this.
Yeah,
that was the best game Colorado has played since Coach Prime has been there by far, and a lot of money was placed on. A lot of money was placed on Colorado State, so I was not in the minority there. We all lost a lot of money on that game. But go ahead.
So is that a moral victory or what is that?
Yeah.
Boston College. You said Boston College was getting 16.5 at Missouri.
He won that.
Missouri won 27-21. You add 16.5 to 21, and that would be a victory for Doug Bell. Ring it up. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, as Coach says.
Yeah, it's in the last game. You went off the radar, and you said take Liberty. You like the Liberty flag. Who's coaching at Liberty now, by the way? Do you even know? I don't even know.
He's going back.
Coach Chatwell.
Hugh Freeze may need to go back. Hugh Freeze, old team. Don't blame Hugh Freeze. They were minus 23 versus UTEP. The score was 28-10. If you add 23 to UTEP's 10, that would be 33. You lost that one, Doug.
Yeah, and I was watching that. I have all the ESPN Plus games, and I'm telling you, I might have been the only person watching and yelling at the TV as Liberty fumbled and bumbled there at the end of the game. But that's okay. Listen, it's early in the season. I accept those things.
All right, so with that week 3 in the books, that would put your current record at 3-6. Now, at least you got a win. Dad's 0-3. You're 3-6. So the listeners don't know what to do now. They trust y'all.
They gonna fire me.
They don't know what to do. Y'all got them all.
I don't blame them.
They got but as soon as they turn on y'all and go against you, you'll hit one.
Yes.
But just for giggles, Doug, where are we going this week?
All right. Well, stay loyal to all the listeners out there. Stay loyal. Hey, let me say this, by the way. Against the spread so far, Nebraska, Tennessee, UNLV, all 3-0 against the spread. Just keep that in mind. And FSU,
you better keep it in mind.
FSU, Jack State, LSU, 0-3 against the spread here after 3 weeks. So, and I'm keeping those things in mind. All right, guys, here we go.
Yeah, that's
here
great.
We go.
Great stuff.
Chase, you ready? You got your pencil out? Get your crayon out?
Tennessee 3-0 against the spread. They go to Oklahoma, guys. What's that spread, Barry?
7. Well, it was 7.5 earlier today. Let me just double check that. Okay. I don't want you to mess up on that. It is still 7.5.
All right. Listen, have you guys watched Tennessee? They haven't played anybody, and they are explosive on offense. They're running such a fast offense. But the thing that impresses me about Tennessee is defensively, they're big, strong, fast, maybe the most athletic defense Tennessee has had in quite some time, guys. Oklahoma's having trouble. They have injuries across the offensive line, and they struggled to beat Tulane last week. It was a touchdown game. Go with Tennessee to cover that spread in Norman, Oklahoma.
All right, so Tennessee minus the 7.5. Game day, Coach Saban's going to be there in Norman. Who will be the guest picker? Will it be Barry Switzer? Maybe. We'll see. I hope so. Yeah, Tennessee, Oklahoma. All right, we got that one in. Go ahead. Next.
All right. USC. That's Southern Cal, by the way. We're not going with South Carolina. Southern Cal at the Big House against Michigan. USC favored, Barry, what, 5.5?
5.5, yes, sir.
All right. Michigan, by the way, struggled against Arkansas State. I don't know if you guys saw that. We saw what they did against Texas. Pass defense, Michigan right now, after 3 weeks of the season, ranked 98th in the country. Pass defense.
That's not good.
Their entire secondary gone from last year's national championship team, breaking in 2 true freshmen in the secondary, by the way. USC, Southern Cal, Lincoln Riley, currently, after 3 games, ranked 10th passing offense in the NCAA. So you know where I'm going here, right?
You're going Trojans.
Trojans cover in the Big House.
So Trojans minus 5.5. This game will be on CBS.
Yeah.
So our boy Gary will be calling this one, I'm assuming. So there you go. So USC.
And they play the SEC music. That music we've gone, for years and years.
Sure.
Now it's the Big Ten music.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just they could have come up with something different there. All right. Lastly, guys. Oh, by the way, last week I went to the Monday Morning Quarterback Club. Trent Dilfer, the UAB coach, was there. He replaced Coach Saban, who had something to do with his family.
Bad trade.
But anyway,
that was what you call a bad trade.
yeah. But it was interesting because he coached Hank Brown in high school. Before he took the UAB job, Hank Brown was his quarterback, and they were winning state championships at that private school in Nashville. And Trent Dilfer,
Lipscomb.
And Trent is kind of a quarterback guru, if you will. He worked with Tua and some others, and he said, listen, this kid had the highest completion percentage in practice of any guy he's ever been around. And he said, listen, what does that mean? He goes, he throws a catchable pass. And sometimes he would go 32, 34 passes in a row before. And he said in high school, you don't have great receivers, but he goes.
You're fixing to pick
Auburn.
Auburn, right?
This was last Monday, and he had not been named the starter. And I thought the young guy did pretty well on Saturday. Now, it was raining. The opponent, all right, the jury's still out of. And Arkansas, by the way, ran the ball like crazy. Against UAB. They ran it for almost 300 yards. And Auburn has given up some yards on the ground. But I really believe this is where Auburn kind of brings it all together after kind of a rough non-conference. They go on the road the whole month of October. This ends the home run in September.
No,
and I think it'll be a home run.
They got Oklahoma next at home.
Well, all right. But Auburn is going to win this game and cover the spread at home against Arkansas. I have no doubt in my mind. I like the young quarterback, guys. That's the bottom line. I think he's pretty good.
Did he talk anything about Auburn's defense?
I didn't even mention that defense.
All right. Well, listen, they struggled.
What's the line on that, Barry?
3.5.
Oh, 3.5.
Auburn's 3.5-point favorite?
Yeah.
Yep. I feel Coach leaning.
Don't bet. Well, maybe, but like Florida State, just throw them out the window.
Oh, they're awful.
Yeah, just don't even. They'll probably turn it around one game. Florida's got to go to Mississippi State this weekend, who got shellacked at home. But Florida's a 4.5-point favorite, but I hope they don't even put those games on TV. All right, so we got you. Tennessee minus 7.5, USC minus 5.5, and Auburn minus 3.5. So you're not taking any points this weekend. You're laying the points this week.
Yeah.
So.
And 3-0 looks pretty good, right? I mean, doesn't that bring me back to the 500
I don't
mark?
think I've ever said Doug and 3-0 in the same sentence in my life. But at some point, let's just go for 2-1. Let's go for 2-1.
Hey, Barry, if I go 3-0, I'm coming down to Tuscaloosa, and you're taking me out to lunch.
Let's
do that.
I'll do that. I'll do it.
All right.
All right. Tell everybody about
You'll go to lunch and all have a big time if you go 3-0.
Yeah, go to tell everybody about MD Wellness and Aesthetics.
I will. MD Wellness and Aesthetics. Go to their website, mdwellnessandaesthetics.com, or call Susan. She'll answer the phone today starting at 10 o'clock, 205-582-9216. Free consultation, by the way. And they do all the skin stuff, guys, the Botox, the filler. They specialize in the laser treatments. They have skin peels, the facials, but also hair replacement, weight loss. They do it all. And it's not just for the ladies. A lot of guys are in there, and Susan is really a great lady. Dr. Dawn Mancuso is the medical physician. It's great. They've been there a long time. Again, MD Wellness and Aesthetics.com. Check it out. 650 Inverness Corners in Birmingham.
Thank you, Doug.
Thanks,
Talk
Doug.
to you next week, fellas. Bye-bye.
See you, buddy. All right, let's tell them about Bryant Bank before we get to break.
Bryant Bank with locations in Birmingham, four in Tuscaloosa, Columbiana, various places in the state. An outstanding bank, a bank that is there to help you. Your bankers, your head bankers know what they're doing. You can bank online around the clock. Pretty darn important there. the problems that come up and people losing their funds. It's certainly taken care of at Bryant Bank because they're darn sure they're great as far as being darn sure that your money is safe, whether you have a business account or home account. Bryant Bank will do everything they possibly can to make you happy once you become a member. Hopefully you'll go by there, visit with them, tell them you heard the show inside the locker room and you're interested in joining up with Bryant Bank. I think you're going to be pleased. I talked to a person yesterday who's joining with them today, and they said that they had talked with them and they were very excited about it. So go by Bryant Bank, visit with them, and tell them you heard it on Inside the Locker Room.
All right, we'll open the phone lines, 205-342-9904. You listen to Tide 100.9. It's the home of Alabama sports.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. Looking at delays on 15th Street on the eastbound lanes just before Lurleen Wallace. Actually, this is just before 27th Avenue. Yeah, that's a bit of a slow roll at the intersection, but it's not, I don't see any cause for alarm. Not an accident in the area, just, well, your rush to work slow goes.
TBC on Monday, September the 16th. It's all powered by Townsend Honda. For more details on how to win cash, tap that free Tide app.
Road tripping, business travel, or bringing your car in for repairs. All great reasons to rent a Toyota at Tuscaloosa Toyota. You can rent the latest Toyota models for a day, a week, or a weekend. Every Toyota rental car comes with 24 hours roadside
prescription RSV treatments. Check eligibility and schedule your RSV vaccine at vaxassist.com.
So where should we go next?
Sponsored by Pfizer.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
We'll maintain the chance of a few scattered showers today, otherwise partially sunny, the high 81. Clear tonight, the low 63. Tomorrow and Wednesday, the sky partly to mostly sunny both days, highs between 84 and 87. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
Two-time state champion and two-time NIT champion, Barry Sanderson breaks down the latest in sports on Inside the Locker Room on Tide 100.9.
Welcome back to Inside the Locker Room. All right, we'll get right to the Yellowwood hotline. We'll get Joe in. Good morning, Joe.
Hey, Joe.
Morning, coaches. Did you see the stat at halftime of the Georgia-Kentucky game at the bottom of the picture? Did you see the stat when he is behind at halftime? His record in 24 games. Barry or Wimp, who wants to guess first?
On which team?
Georgia, they being down. Georgia. I mean, I would imagine they haven't been down much at halftime, and they haven't lost very many. They've won, 41 straight games?
Barry, we're talking about his total career at Georgia when he's trailing at halftime. 24 games.
So he's been trailing 24 games at halftime?
Uh-huh.
What's his record?
Guess what his record? Nobody's even been close, Barry. I've asked. They hadn't even been close.
I'm going to say, because the way you're acting, 12 and 12, 10 and 14.
Well,
you're saying that the halftimes he is Georgia's down at halftime.
Yeah, 24 times. According, and I hadn't fact checked Joe, but I'm sure he's right. What's his record?
I'd say 8 and something.
8 and 16.
Yeah.
I got y'all. I mean, everybody else has been 20s and something. He was 13 and 11.
Wow, he's
13 and 11. So, now he's 14 and 11. He's lost 5 of those to Saban, 1 and 5. He's 0-2 against Ogeron. He's 0-1 against Texas. So that's 8 of the 11 losses. And I guess Vandy, when they beat him that first year, and I don't know who the other 2 would be, but anyway.
Are you coming in here down in Georgia?
I don't know if this is updated.
I love to do this.
His record at Georgia, and I don't know if this adds this season or not, is 97 and 16.
Right. Exactly.
He's won 41 straight regular season games.
Right. And what's Joe always said? He's made a living playing in the East Division.
I don't.
What does he have to do?
How can you call and talk about Lane? How can you do that?
Hey, look, Wimp. I'm not. All I'm saying is, he's not as great. He's not a great coach. Everybody thinks he's a great coach, and he's not. He's not a great. He don't coach both sides of the ball.
Well, that's okay. But he gets his team ready to play, and he gets the right coaches. That's big.
How do you win 41 straight, Joe, if you're not a good coach?
Oh, come on, Barry.
I didn't say good. I said he's not great.
Oh,
he's not a great coach.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, will they beat Alabama?
They gonna beat Alabama?
No,
They're not.
I think we got some good mismatches, and Beck ain't gonna run. Look, Stetson bailed him out all those years running with the football. Y'all know you got to have a running quarterback now to win big and can win consistently.
This quarterback they got is terrific.
He didn't play good yesterday, like Saturday.
No, he did.
He's good. He's good.
Yeah.
So, all right, Joe. Call us tomorrow. We have more time to talk.
Okay.
Thank you, buddy. All right, we'll take this last break. We got Bruce holding. We'll try to get to Bruce. You listen to Tide 100.9. It's the home of Alabama sports.
Weekday mornings at 6 a.m. The Martin Houston Show.
Join the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier, powered by Fox Eye Care. For a Tuesday edition of the program, we'll add DC Capstone report to the conversation. We'll get his good, bad, and ugly. We'll get his key takeaways. We'll also take a jaunt around the SEC and the nation with him, and we'll get a little bit of that Georgia conversation. Those conversations and more, you can get in at it 205-342-9904. That's Empowerment Strategy Solutions Hotline, right here on your home for Alabama Sports, Tide 100.9 and 12:30 a.m.
Catch the Martin Houston Show from 6 to 7 weekday mornings on Tide 100.9.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. Looking at delays on 15th Street on the eastbound lanes just before Lurleen Wallace. Actually, this is just before 27th Avenue. Yeah, that's a bit of a slow roll at the intersection, but it's not, I don't see any cause for alarm. Not an accident in the area, just, well, your rush to work slow go.
On your day. Start your day with Nature Made, the #1 pharmacist recommended vitamin and supplement brand. Based on a survey of pharmacists who recommend branded vitamins and supplements.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
We'll maintain the chance of a few scattered showers today, otherwise partially sunny, the high 81. Clear tonight, the low 63. Tomorrow and Wednesday, the sky partly to mostly sunny both days, highs between 84 and 87. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
Mr. SEC Tournament Wimp Sanderson gives you his excellent analysis every weekday on Inside the Locker Room, right here on Tide 100.9.
Welcome back to Inside the Locker Room. All right, Dad had to jump out, but we'll get right up here to the last call here to the Yellowwood Hotline. Get Bruce in. Good morning, Bruce.
Good morning. How are you today?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm good. I wanted to point out something I saw in the Alabama-Wisconsin game.
Yes, sir.
There was a penalty on Alabama that was not called for unsportsmanlike conduct on our head coach. It was in the fourth quarter, 10:27 left, and he put Ryan Williams in to return the punt. And he caught the punt and started running it back, and all the way across the top of your screen is another Alabama player wearing number 2 in on that play.
Oh, yeah.
So 2 players with the same number playing on the play is unsportsmanlike conduct against the head coach and the player, and one of the players was number 2.
Huh. Yeah, they have some duplicate numbers out there, and I'm sure they tried to avoid that. I'm not sure how that could happen, but you're right. If those 2 guys were on the field at the same time, that should have been a penalty.
Well, they were. You can, if you got the replay, you can look it up.
We'll look it up. Thank you, Bruce.
All right. See you later.
Thank
buddy.
you. All right. So Alabama with 2 number 2s on the field. They got one number 2 that's pretty good, Chase. That little young number 2.
Hollywood.
Yeah. Does he have a podcast again since that first one they
I'm
did?
about to check and watch it. I've heard it's really good.
Has he had some more out?
I think so.
Oh, there you go. All right, well, we're going to get out of here. We're going to make way for the Gary Harris Show. Gary will be ready to roll. Gary is upset about the Tim Brando thing. He was texting me about that last night, so we in turn reached out to Tim to get him on the show, but we will not have him on until Friday, and we'll find out why Tim does not have Alabama in his top 15. That's kind of silly, to be quite honest with you. All right, that's it for today's show. Keep it locked in. You listen to Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC. It's the home of Alabama sports. Have a great day, everybody.